Hi guys, welcome back to Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. Before we start today, I just want to take a minute to say to those who are already subscribed to my channel, please take a look to the other videos. There's so many topics I covered in this year and a half I've been working. So don't just, I know I'm a subscriber to other channels. Usually you wait for the next video after you've seen one or two that you like, and that's it. It's a pity. Try to take a look at the other ones I did, because I think at least a few of them should be worth it, okay? And if you're new here instead, please subscribe, please click the little bell to get notified. Obviously, it's all free, and I think you'll enjoy it if you like hi-fi, if you like audiophile, if you like good music, if you like to learn how to reproduce correctly your gear, your music playback. You're in the right place. Okay, so let's get to it today. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about, it's the second volume related to hi-fi myths, beliefs, and mistakes. Let's take a look. Okay, as in the last episode, we're going to face 5 main topics. But before getting into this, I just want to say one little thing, which I think is interesting. Last time I stated that I do not believe in subwoofers. And that actually was a preconceived perspective that I had inherited in the last 20 years of hi-fi. I was stuck back in 20 years ago, where subwoofers were just really for home theater 5.1 systems. Instead, discussing with people, comments, getting a little more knowledge, I must say that I changed my mind. That a good subwoofer, especially the servo woofers and specific companies, do create high quality products which do have a meaning in your setup. So I'm glad that this it's not, as I always say, it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. So we're sharing ideas, and I'm open-minded. I'm ready to change my idea on things. I'm not giving law to anyone. We're here just to talk about our passion, obviously. Okay, so thank you again for highlighting certain topics, aspects on this subject. Okay, so today we're gonna face 5 new topics. So it's gonna be just a discussion video. First video, I'm also gonna go through topics I've already discussed here and there within certain videos. So for those of you who have been following me since the beginning, you're gonna find a few elements already discussed, but I think it's a good idea to sum them up here together in this type of video of this series of the hi-fi myths, beliefs, and mistakes. Okay, so first topic, high resolution. I've discussed this in several videos. I would say mainly this one. Here's a link in the headphones one, where we're talking so much of high resolution now. Yes, high resolution can be a good thing, but it's good to know that a lot of material out there is not high resolution, but it's being sold at you in that way and with those prices. So I'm going to be very quick. There's so many things to say. I'm going to go quick on each topic. High resolution, which specifically should reach at least 40 kilohertz of frequency response, frequency extension, can be obtained just converting specific old recordings, introducing noise, simply just noise. So therefore, we have to be careful, because we are mainly buying reissues. 80% or around that number, I don't know exactly, but the majority music sold today comes from reissues, as you can imagine, not new music. New music is a little niche, actually. So, and when we're talking about reissues, most of these are coming from an analog era. Let's start from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, mid-90s, or almost all of the 90s was recorded on tape and with specific gear. So these cannot be high resolution. We can have a high resolution transfer from that with a fantastic high rate sampling, okay? The sampling of the analog signal. In that case, you will have a better quality compared to the CD version of that album. For example, since we've discussed about it, for example, I don't know, The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Okay, so the Super Audio CD or the Blu-ray audio will have a higher sampling rate and also a higher resolution, the number of bits in which this sampling rate is elaborated, it is articulated. So that is something that is specifically designed to extrapolate, we could say, take out more information from the tape. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a high resolution recording or a high resolution file. Not necessarily. I mean, you're not going to have a higher dynamic range or a higher frequency response. Yes, maybe a little higher dynamic range, since we're having better technology to get the signal from the tape. But the tape has its limitations. I mean, more we go ahead in time, the more we're losing the dynamic range of the original oxide of the tape. So again, I see a lot of sites selling these high resolution versions, but it's always the same stuff, which has just a high sampling rate with a lot of bits in there. But it's not. I mean, you're probably going to have the same experience with a good CD version. But you're better off, obviously, with the original LP. So just be careful about this. Obviously, another limitation is microphones. Of course, as I said already in that video, almost all of the microphones of the gear in general is set to reach maximum 22 kilohertz. In the frequency response. So, I mean, if we're talking about new generation microphones with a new recording, then that can be a high resolution recording, a high resolution album. A lot of classical music and also, I would say, jazz is done that way. So that's 100% true high res, and then it makes sense to buy a high res headphones and set and loudspeakers and super tweeters. Remember the super tweeters? Here's another video where I discuss about the super tweeters and all of the topics related to the human ear, which brings us to our second topic. Yes, I want to discuss once again, I know I'm going to get completely lapidated, destroyed, and hated for this topic, but I still see a lot of comments say that the human ear stops at 20 kilohertz maximum. We're already old. We're hearing down to 60. Forget about high res. Forget about the frequency response. It does not make any sense. No, that's not true. That's prehistory. That's the concept behind the dumb MP3. That's why it sounds so bad and fake and unreal. Okay, the human ear does hear that extension in frequencies, but all the rest of the frequencies do participate in the playback, in the reality, the fidelity of that playback. As I already said in that video, we're having a pressure on our body and on our ear coming from those other frequencies that we do not hear. That pressure, I'm not talking about dBs, I'm talking about physical pressure. As we know, very deep signals or very high signals are played, we feel uncomfortable. There's a sense, no? We heard about this in videos and documentaries. Very high frequencies or very low frequencies that we cannot hear do create something in our physical body. There is a reaction, unpleasant usually, because it's an extreme extension of the audio bandwidth. So again, there is an effect which is participating in the reality and the fidelity of the playback of that sound. If we're missing that, we're missing a piece. And obviously when we're missing pieces of how a true sound is, we're not going to experience a true, a faithful reproduction of that sound, of that music. Plus, as I said again in that video, we're talking about harmonics. Those frequencies collaborate, jump in, mix with other frequencies, creating new frequencies. If we cut off everything, like we all know, all our fantastic CDs have a cutoff for the Nyquist theorem at 20 kilohertz, maybe a little higher, but we have a cutoff there, artificial cutoff, and we're losing all the rest of the bandwidth, all of the rest of those frequencies who are participating in creating a true, faithful signal. Obviously, you need also a microphone capable of collecting, of recording those frequencies, and at the same time, you need a gear capable of reproducing those frequencies, which is very difficult. That's it. I said even too much about this topic. Take a look at those videos and you'll have a little more information. Okay, so these two topics were connected. Now let's go ahead. Another topic I want to take out and discuss a little more, which again is aimed at informing the consumer, is the completely false common belief that vinyl records are analog. 100% analog. As I said, there's a video I did. Here's a link. We're talking about an AAA type of recording, type of album, when we have obviously an analog mastering, mixing phase, an analog pressing of the medium, an analog recording, obviously. All these parts together create an analog album, which is in contrast with a digital album where we have a digital recording, a digital mixing and mastering, etc., etc. So this is important because a lot of people, I'm afraid, think that if you buy a record, it's 100% analog. No, I would say that, as I said in that video, 95%, but even more, maybe 98% of all the records we're finding out now, produced now, the reissues and new albums are all cut from digital files. It's much more easy, guys. Plus, now we're going towards this new hype of the HD vinyl, which is going to come out next year, where, again, we're going to have an extra step in the digital phase, in the digital domain. Maybe it could be good, I don't know. But the incision of the grooves is not going to be analog anymore. Stamper, analog, well, there's going to be a stamper, a ceramic stamper, but the ceramic stamper is going to be done by a laser carrying the signal, a digital signal. I don't know, maybe that could be good, but again, that's another step in the digital domain, leaving behind the analog domain for our records. That is why, in another video, which I suggest you, I highly recommend to buy or the first pressings to get something close to the master tapes or high quality reissues, and you got to know which kind of labels do that, because very few audiophile labels care about that, and they tell you that on the hype sticker or whatever. Very few. Okay, let's get to our fourth topic. So if it's true that records are not 100% analog, it is also true that digital records, recordings, albums, CDs or whatever, but digital recordings, let's focus on that, are not 100% digital. Nope. I was rather shocked when I learned this, because I did a sound technician course 2 years ago, just to get a little more information. As I said in a lot of times in the comments, I am not an engineer, sound engineer. I'm not a technician. This is just my passion. So a lot of things may have mistakes and errors. So I'm sorry for that. But obviously we're not on YouTube. We're not on academia.edu. So obviously there might be some mistakes. This is not a peer-reviewed magazine journal. Okay, so yes, I was rather shocked when I learned that people who are very fond of digital, when they do a digital recording, there are several, and I mean a lot, tons of times when the signal, the digital signal that is recorded 100101101 is converted to analog several times during the process. So what's the point of doing digital? I was shocked again by this, because during the mastering, mastering process, you have several conversions of the digital signal to analog and then back to digital. And every time you do that, you have a sound degradation. The converters give a strong imprint to the sound. You're already losing something there. Plus, every time you're doing this back and forth, for several reasons, you're gonna have a lower quality. There's gonna be more compression in the sound. Things are gonna be a little more harsh to your ears. Plus, as I said, the converters do give their own sound when you convert them. When you convert them on analog or digital signal. Both ways that happens. And actually, there's one aspect that was very interesting to me. Not everyone uses it, but a lot of people do. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the analog summer. At the end of your digital mixing, adjustments, whatever it is, and you finally have all the separate channels of all the instruments ready to do your master file, at that point, in order to mix them together, to bring them all together, because obviously they cannot remain as single channels. They have to be mixed all in one channel. Well, obviously it's going to be a stereo signal, but they're going to be all put together. That's why it's called a summer, because you sum all the different channels. Some people do it in digital, but most people do it in analog. So all the digital tracks are converted in an analog domain and mixed. Why is that? Because if you do it in a digital way, that's what the technician told me, the result isn't that good. There is not a perfect blending of the tracks, which instead happens in an analog domain, which is why a lot of people use these high quality summers, analog summers, and that's another conversion to analog, which obviously again has to be converted back into digital. And I think that is schizophrenic. It's insane. Why not just aim to a high quality analog signal, for example, and some record labels should do some high quality tapes, because there's so many people who want that. If you're talking about high resolution, the audio file, almost all audiophiles will love to have something connected to an analog domain. Yes, we have vinyl records, but we're talking about old recordings. Very few now are done AAA today. Today, it's really, really rare. Our last topic is dedicated to a special kind of cable. We're going to do a whole episode on cables, but it's not a mystery that I do believe that a good cable can have an effect, a positive effect on sound reproduction. And today I want to talk, for our last topic, on a specific type of cables, the USB type of cable. Well, after spending, okay, please do not think I'm crazy, almost 500 euro on a USB cable, high quality USB cable, in order to feed my digital to analog converter high quality digital signal, I truly realized that USB cables do not have any difference. At least that's my experience. I do not hear a darn thing if I use a stupid USB of the €2 cable USB compared to my 500 one. I just don't. And I hope that's also a proof that I'm kind of open-minded and set to hear differences. If I do hear differences with other types of cables like RCA cables, interconnect cables. But when we're talking about USB pure digital, in that case, I really don't hear anything. Well, you tell me, do you hear anything, any differences? I don't know if you ever compared them, but there is a whole segment of the market selling high quality USB cables, and I don't see any true reason to spend money on that. Okay, that was just our last little topic there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments on all these topics. Please leave your suggestions for other topics if you're interested, and hope to see you soon, guys. Oh, we're getting close to our 10,000 sub. At that point, I'm gonna reveal something special to all of you. Nothing incredible, but it's a little surprise. I think you'll enjoy it. Bye, guys. Thank you again, and have a great New Year's Eve. Ciao.